Today, we're diving into that sometimes intimidating, often confusing list of words you see at every coffee shop. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll know your macchiato from your cortado and be ordering like an absolute pro.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle that menu confusion head on. Then, we'll build from the ground up, starting with what espresso actually is. From there, we'll get into black coffee, then some smaller drinks with just a touch of milk, and finally, we'll settle the great debate, cappuccino versus latte versus flat white. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's talk about that feeling of menu anxiety. You know the one. You're next in line, staring at the board and feeling the pressure.
So you step up to the counter, and your eyes glaze over. Doppio, cortado, macchiato. They all sound kind of similar, they all sound delicious, but what on earth is the actual difference? Well, this is exactly where the confusion starts, and it's what we are here to clear up, once and for all.
Okay, so the key to unlocking this whole menu, the secret, really, is to understand the one ingredient that is the foundation for almost every single drink we're about to talk about, the espresso itself.
Now, what's so interesting here is the precision. See, espresso isn't just a small, strong coffee. It's a very specific brewing method. It's all about that high pressure, which forces out oils and flavors you just don't get any other way. And that pressure is what creates that beautiful reddish-brown foam on top, the signature crema.
So traditionally, you had the single espresso. That's the classic Italian standard. But these days, if you walk into most specialty coffee shops, their default, their standard, is actually the double espresso. They're basically brewing 2 shots worth of coffee at the same time, right into your cup, which gives a much richer and more complex base for all the other drinks. And here it is, the big reveal, the number one thing to take away. Espresso doppio is just the Italian way of saying double espresso. They are the exact same drink. Doppio literally just means double. So next time you see it on the menu, you know exactly what you're getting. 2 shots of espresso in 1 cup. No confusion.
All right, so let's move on. We've got our espresso foundation. Now let's see what happens when we start adding just one simple ingredient, hot water. The Americano is just a beautifully simple drink. You're taking that intense espresso shot and diluting it with hot water, which creates a drink that's closer in strength to a regular drip coffee. And here's a little pro tip for you. You'll often see baristas add the hot water first and then pour the espresso shot on top. Why? Well, it keeps that lovely crema intact, making the drink look that much more inviting.
Now, these two are fascinating variations of the espresso shot itself. A ristretto, which means restricted in Italian, uses less water. This creates a really thick, syrupy, concentrated flavor. On the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the longo, or long shot. This is where the barista pushes more water through the coffee, giving you a larger but less intense drink.
Okay, we've covered espresso on its own and with water. Now let's bring in some milk. We're going to explore the drinks that use just a little bit of steamed milk to create a completely different experience.
You know, the macchiato has such a great practical origin story. The name literally means marked or stained. And it all comes from those super busy Italian coffee bars. To tell the difference between a plain espresso and one with a splash of milk, the barista would just mark it with a tiny dollop of foam. It had nothing to do with art. It was just a simple way to keep the orders straight.
The cortado, on the other hand, is all about balance. It comes from Spain or Portugal, and its name comes from the word to cut. And that's exactly what it is. It's a perfect 1-to-1 ratio of espresso to steamed milk. The milk cuts through the intensity of the espresso, adding this beautiful, creamy sweetness without overwhelming the coffee. It's a perfect middle ground.
And that brings us to the main event, the section that probably causes the most confusion and, let's be honest, the most debate out there. It's time to finally distinguish between the 3 most popular milk-based drinks on any menu. Okay, this table really breaks it all down beautifully. The cappuccino is all about that thick, luxurious, airy layer of foam on top. A cafe latte, by contrast, is a much larger and milkier drink with just a thin layer of foam. And then you have the flat white. This one packs a punch. It's got a double shot of espresso in a smaller cup, so the coffee flavor is much stronger. And it's topped with a thin, silky layer of what we call microfoam. That's milk steamed to a perfect velvety texture. So with all of these amazing options, what do people actually order? Well, looking at some data from a specialty cafe in Europe, you might be surprised. The classic cappuccino is the undisputed champion.
a runaway winner at a massive 37% of orders. I mean, that's more than all the block coffees combined. And the flat white puts in a really strong showing too, which just proves how incredibly popular it's become. So let's lock in your new coffee menu toolkit. These are the key things to remember. First, a doppio is just a double espresso. Simple. An Americano is that espresso, just diluted with hot water. A macchiato is an espresso that's been marked with a bit of foam. A flat white is small but mighty, a strong latte with a double shot. And finally, if you want thick foam, get a cappuccino. If you want it big and milky, get a latte. You've got this.
So hopefully, this explainer has armed you with the confidence to walk up to that counter and maybe, just maybe, try something new. The world of coffee is huge and delicious, and now you have the map to explore it. Thanks so much for watching.